Do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yes, it's a cryptocurrency.
Let's start by me asking you, what is Bitcoin?
A cryptocurrency?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
I've got that bit, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what Bitcoin is?
I think so.
Okay, explain it to me like I'm 5.
I think I would explain it like, okay.
Do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yes, I've actually got some.
Excellent. Excuse me, I'm making a YouTube video about Bitcoin. Do you have a couple of minutes to answer a couple of questions about it?
Nothing about it at all, so the
Okay.
answer is no, 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 and no.
Okay, no worries, thank you. Hi, I'm making a YouTube video. I wondered if I could ask you a couple of questions about Bitcoin. You don't have to know about it.
We know about it, but I'm just not interested in it.
Okay.
To be honest, but that's about as far as it goes.
No worries.
I've just got no interest.
No
in
interest.
it whatsoever.
Fine. All right, no worries. Thank you.
Okay, no
Cheers.
problem.
Do you have a positive or a negative view of Bitcoin in general, would you say?
I think we're neutral. Neutral out there.
Neutral, okay. Welcome to this video where I am asking people, just random people in parks around London, what they think of Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? Do they have a positive or a negative view on Bitcoin, or a neutral view? Do they own any? What do they think the future holds for Bitcoin? I was very curious to hear kind of what just like the average person on the street thinks of Bitcoin. I'm passionate about it. I think the future is bright. I think it's going to make the world a better place for all sorts of reasons. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the video. I don't suppose I could bother you for a quick question about Bitcoin for a YouTube video, could I?
Yeah, go for it.
Great. Do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yes, I've actually got some.
Excellent. You're the first person I found who is a Bitcoiner. So tell me a little bit about what value you see in Bitcoin.
Well, I bought some probably 4 years ago,
Okay.
just after people became multimillionaires from it, and I spent 300 quid.
Great.
Not
And-
all in one hit, but over time, over say the course of a year, I just lobbed in 20 quid here or there.
Okay, great. And this was been like 2017, 2018, was it? When there was the big hype around it, around December 2017?
Yeah,
Okay, and you've just held it ever since?
and it's gone up to 2,500 quid.
Yeah, so that was turned out to be a good buy.
It was, yes.
And are you tempted to kind of continue buying? Do you think it's going up from here, down from here?
I wish I could tell you,
Yeah, okay.
but the fact that I spent 300 quid that turned into 2,500.
Yeah, that's not bad, is
I've actually
it?
just withdrawn 1,000 because I needed it.
Sure.
So it's almost like a savings account for me.
Good. Yeah, that's how I view it as well. And I buy a little bit each month, and it's like a savings account. If you don't need it in the short term, it can work well.
It's just so volatile. It changes really
Yeah,
quickly.
it goes up and down a
And
lot
up,
in price.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does that put you off buying it, or maybe you own it already?
I mean, it's kind of unachievable unless you already have like a lot of money to invest in it.
Interesting. You know, you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know, but like you're kind of put off by all the. It's basically gambling.
Okay.
So unless you feel, for me at least, if I don't feel confident enough to be putting my money into something I don't completely understand, and it's a load of white men on the internet telling you what like. to
Okay,
do.
so maybe we need more white women.
I mean, not necessarily. We're not white.
Okay, well, but women.
Yeah, or like just talking to people in a less condescending
Okay,
way.
so I'm just going to interpret, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a slightly negative view of Bitcoin so far.
I mean, yeah. Sure.
Neutral, negative. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say selling Bitcoin and then having the money in your bank account was easier than selling a piece of real estate?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty liquid, isn't it? You can get hold of if you've done it a few times, you can click a button, sell the Bitcoin, have the cash, within a day at least, right?
Yes, I mean, I think within 6 or 7 hours, the money turned up in my account. And I was slightly worried because I'd never done it before. And I thought, I don't know who these people are. Are they in China or are they in Saudi Arabia or in Iceland? Where are they? Is it going to work?
Yeah.
And it did. It was fine.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, this is going to change the world. Like, I'm really passionate about it.
Really?
So now I'm making videos about Bitcoin.
But it just feels like a bunch of like I don't know, lying like heterosexual annoying men being like invest your money. This is how you become a millionaire in 4 steps. Blah blah blah.
That sounds so scammy. The problem is it like there is a lot of scamming in the space. Once you get underneath that, and you got to be very careful who you listen to and who you don't. But like, it's actually, I think personally, obviously, it's a personal thing, but I think like we're just at the beginning of something that's going to like really change the world in a really positive way. You have a generally positive view on Bitcoin or negative?
Oh, definitely positive.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I mean, I think now that the massive ups and downs have sort of evened out, it doesn't feel so risky. But then again, the money I put in there, I don't need. So if what started at 300 went up to 2,500, if that suddenly dropped down to 1,000, I wouldn't worry about it, because I know in 3 months' time it might go up to the 2,500
Exactly.
or beyond.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the market as a whole, all the Bitcoin are worth around 1 trillion, which is a big number, but in global money terms, it's still pretty small. The gold market is about 12 trillion. The US bond market is 100 trillion. So, when people have got, there's about 18 trillion negatively yielding debt in Europe right now. So when you look at it in terms of the global monetary system, then there could be room to run, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I also enjoy about it is that I can just click on my Coinbase app every now and again and say, oh, look, I've gained another £100 or dropped another £200 or whatever it might be.
Exactly. So it's a bit more exciting, isn't it, in that way? If you're only holding in Bitcoin what you aren't going to need, in month-to-month bills.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not its purpose. Its purpose is a bit of fun for me.
Yeah.
I'm never going to put 25,000 quid in there, mainly because I haven't got 25,000 quid.
Yeah, sure.
But having said that, if I did, I probably would.
Sure.
Because the gains that you make on 25,000 quid are an awful lot more than what you make on 2,000 quid.
Yeah, and this is what I say to people who are scared about the volatility. I say, well, just put in a small amount. Take all your savings, put in 5%, and then if 5% fluctuates largely, then overall it's still not a big deal, is it?
Absolutely. And I wish 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever I put my 300 quid in, if I'd put 3,000 in...
You'd be a slightly wealthier man.
Exactly. Not a millionaire, but doing okay.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
The only other thing I know about Bitcoin is mining Bitcoin is really bad for the environment.
Because it uses a lot of energy.
Yeah, so that's my...
What about clothes dryers and Christmas lights? They use a lot of electricity as well. Do you have a bad image about those?
I mean, we can use LEDs though, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say that is because there is a statistic which is quite interesting, which is basically that all Bitcoin mining uses less electricity than just American Christmas lights during the Christmas season.
Yeah, but Americans
very over
like
the top.
they do not here in England.
But what if that same energy was being used to secure an entire global monetary network that left nobody unbanked, no matter where they're from or what they were doing for a living or which country they happen to be in? Like right now, if you're in Lebanon, you can't take money out of the bank, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin fixes that, right?
Yeah, it does. In theory, it does. But everything is good in theory until you see it in practice, and governments tend to manipulate that. So let's see.
It's not like
Yeah.
it's really being regulated that much by the government. Not yet. It feels
It's-
like the stock market, but more sketchy
Because it's on the internet.
because it's on the internet.
Do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yes, it's a cryptocurrency.
Correct. And do you own any?
I don't.
Okay. Do you have a positive or a negative view of Bitcoin?
I suppose it's a bit mixed. I think the technology's pretty interesting and, it has some good applications. But my concern would be about the environmental impact.
Interesting. Okay. In terms of the energy that it
Yeah,
uses.
the energy use for people mining the coins and kind of the impact that has on the environment.
Good. Yeah, that's a fair comment. That's quite a common thing reported by the media. What if I said that a large chunk of the energy is from renewable sources, and it's actually incentivizing the growth and innovation and investment in green renewable energy resources? Any thoughts about that?
I mean, it's interesting. Probably what I'd say, there's a limited amount of renewable energy sources. So in terms of the capacity we have now, so you could still argue, the amount being used by Bitcoin, if they could be using renewable energies, but other people maybe aren't using renewable energies because of their usage.
Thinking about internet security, it always makes me feel like, oh, what happens if this doesn't work and they disappear somewhere?
Yeah.
I see what you mean, yeah. You're worried that maybe the Bitcoins disappear one day and then you're left without them. Yeah, totally understandable. I think when you're thinking about the energy usage, like for me personally, yes, it uses a lot of energy. That's just a fact, undeniable. The question is it worth it? And is it worth it to use this amount of energy to secure a global monetary network, to allow everyone on the planet to have a bank account in their pocket, who... Right, in the UK is not a big deal because we all have bank accounts, we have a good stable currency. But if you're in somewhere like Argentina or El Salvador, where the currency is the purchasing power is being attacked, if you're in Lebanon right now, you can't take money to the bank account. So the counter argument would be that it's uses energy, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting point. I mean, there's always energy usage for anything that people want to do. I mean, what I think would be interesting for cryptocurrency is, and I'm sure I'm aware this is going on, is can a cryptocurrency be created or adapted that doesn't have that energy intensity? Which I think, that if people put their resources into that, I mean, like I said, I think the technology itself is good, it's interesting. Could, people discover, and I think eventually probably people can, a way of either mining or some other way of doing cryptocurrency that isn't so energy intensive.
If you have a crash and you're losing and then lose it entirely.
Oh, in terms of like the price crash, yeah. It's very volatile. It goes up and down, up and down. But I mean, it goes up a lot and then it comes down and then it goes up even higher and then it goes.
It's not supported by any bank, is it? I mean, if you have a crash somewhere else, at least some of the national banks will step in and try to maintain some of the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, yes, I understand. If you buy like a certain stock or a share or something, but if you buy like a house, piece of real estate, and the property prices crashed, like that does happen. That has happened a lot. But like the way I would describe Bitcoin today is like kind of like using the internet in 1996. It's really early days. Only 1% of the world has adopted it, but it's growing very rapidly. What would it take for you to buy some Bitcoin?
What would it take? I mean, it's an interesting question. I wouldn't say, the energy concerns would completely put me off buying some. I think really probably what it would take for me to buy some would either be, maybe for the energy things to be addressed, but also I would say probably for me to have more confidence that it was actually going to maintain its value and be a bit more of a stable currency.
Okay, yeah. So what if I told you that I believe that Bitcoin will be worth several £1 million per coin? Just for context, it's about 40,000 today. Yeah. Does that sound like just crazy talk, or I mean, like if we take the whole network and the value of the market as a whole, it's worth 1 trillion today. Gold is worth 10 trillion. Bitcoin's better than gold. So, like, could it go up further? Do you think?
I certainly think it could go up further. It's not out of the realms of possibilities. I mean, at the end of the day, the value of it is to do with supply and demand. So as long as there's demand for the coin, that it could increase in value. I suppose my worry would be that demand for the coin suddenly reduces, and the value of kind of, if I bought some, the value would go down.
Yeah, sure.
I don't fully understand, the market dynamics in terms of the supply and demand for it.
Sure. Yeah. What I'd recommend to most of my friends and people that I talk about this with is to kind of, like, and the way I do it as well is I buy a little bit each month, £100 a month, and then, over time, if you don't need that money, then it just gradually grows and grows over long term.
Have you speculated in Bitcoin?
Oh yeah. I just buy a little bit each month. I tend to take a little bit of what I earn and I just buy Bitcoin with it, because I'd rather hold Bitcoin than pounds, because pounds are guaranteed to buy you less next year. That's by design. They're designed to have less purchasing power, whereas Bitcoin is designed. There's only ever going to be 21 million, so you can buy more with them each year. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, the question is, I don't think that Bitcoin is that popular or has the negative reputation, because you can't buy like the things you need at daily life, like groceries or a house or a flat. And I think if that would change, Bitcoin would have a much better reputation.
Yeah. Interestingly, El Salvador, which is a small country in Central America, has just made it legal tender. So you can actually buy anything you want in Bitcoin, and you can go to McDonald's or Starbucks and buy stuff in Bitcoin. But I think, looking ahead, because we're so early, I think in the future you might be able to buy your car, your house, whatever you want in Bitcoin. So we'll see, shall we?
I think that we...
But thanks so much. Satoshi Nakamoto's vision was for Bitcoin to have a cost, so that it costs energy to mine the Bitcoin, so that then it would be more likely to kind of hold its value going forward. A bit like how it costs money to mine gold. Yeah. If you could just make gold or mine gold with no energy cost, then it wouldn't have the same. So that's kind of the thought behind that. Do you know what Bitcoin is?
I think so.
Okay, explain it to me like I'm 5.
I think I would explain it like okay. So I believe it's like a cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
I don't quite understand it, but that's as far as I get.
Do you own any?
No, I don't.
Why have you not bought any already?
It's scary when you don't know much about something that will cost you a fair bit of money.
Sure. Yeah, understandable. Yeah, so it's like fear of the unknown. Like it's early days. It's not clear like what it is. You might lose your money, right?
Exactly. And it seems very sporadic in the way it moves. It's not.
The price goes up and down a lot, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin, by the way. You don't need to buy a whole one. So you can buy like £100 a month or something, which is one way of doing it to maybe make it less scary.
Yeah. I mean, even now, so because I'm saving up, I'm on like, I'm not going to say how much I am on a year, but I'm on my first job.
Yeah.
So even £100 a month is quite a lot.
Yeah, you'd rather just keep your money in cash where you know it's going to be safe.
For now, I think. But I think definitely when I start earning more, I'll be more kind of a lot more interested.
If you get your phone out, I'll send you some Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll try that if you like.
Okay. No,
All right.
I'd love to learn more about it.
Let's start by me asking you, what is Bitcoin?
A cryptocurrency.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
I've got that bit, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been tempted to buy some at all?
Initially, yes, and then I found that there was quite a lot. I heard of quite a lot of people losing money quite quickly.
Right.
Not making what they thought they were going to make, at least.
Okay. Yeah. So because it goes up and down a lot, doesn't it?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
In price,
I'm not too sure yet.
Okay. So, like, do you have like a positive, a negative, or a neutral view? Would you say if you had to choose one?
Neutral, I'd say. Yeah,
okay.
I'm kind of. Yeah, I've heard about it in the first instance when a lot of people seem to have made a lot of money, and then you hear about people buying a pizza for 5 Bitcoin or whatever. Back in the, when it first came out, but I've never really shown much interest into it.
Yeah, it's gone up a lot in price over the years. I mean, do you know what the price of one Bitcoin is today?
No idea.
No idea. It's around $56,000. So that sounds like quite a lot, doesn't it? But when you take the market as a whole, all the Bitcoin market is worth around $1 trillion, which sounds like a lot. But when you take into account that the gold market is valued at 12 trillion, and Bitcoin is essentially like digital gold, if you buy into that narrative, which a lot of people do, it sounds like it's got some room to run, right?
It does, yeah. I think if there's enough of, I wouldn't even know what you'd buy with Bitcoin. That's the thing. I don't.
Yeah, it's more of like it's more of like a savings vehicle. Like the idea is that like the currencies that we use, like the pounds, euros, dollars, yen, they're just printed, they're debased. There's more and more of them every year. Yeah. Whereas Bitcoin, there's only ever going to be 21 million. Yeah. Have you heard of that 21 million number? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Yeah, so there's only going to be 21 million, and that's written into the code, which is verifiable by anyone who can read code, essentially. So the idea is that you can buy more Bitcoin every year. Sorry, you can buy more with your Bitcoin every year. So it gains purchasing power rather than loses purchasing power. So like the price of your house or your car is going up every year, right? That house you want to buy, the things you want to buy, it's all like 5%, 10% a year, whatever, increasing. Whereas Bitcoin, like, you can actually buy more with one Bitcoin next year than you can this year.
I'm with you, yeah.
I work for a blockchain company, and I own various coins.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, you're actually one of the first. I've found one guy so far who owns Bitcoin, but my general sense is that we're very, very early in this adoption curve. Like, not many people really seem to care about it. I've asked probably 20 people. You're the second who knows it and owns it. So, where do you think we go from here?
In what way?
Well, what do you see? Like, you work for a blockchain company, so do you see the future of money in some sort of cryptocurrency, or do you think it will exist as more like a fringe hobby just owned by, the 1 or 2% of people that are a bit geeky?
I think it will be both. I think there's enough space in the marketplace for both traditional monies, fiat, and also coins as well. I think if you look at the benefits of blockchain per se, it's the immutability, the security, the transparency. So I think in certain industries that holds a lot of weight. So
what would it take for you to just buy some Bitcoin then?
I don't know, but the difficult thing that I've got is there seems to be so many of these different currencies now, and and I hear people that are investing into different ones, and some of them, the 0.000 thing, and it's kind of, for me, I don't need it, as in, I don't have enough interest or enough knowledge to be able to start spending money on.
Totally, yeah. I mean, what I'd recommend to like most people is just like maybe you can buy a little bit each month and just see how it grows and play around with it.
I mean, speed's one of the biggest drawbacks, right? So
With Bitcoin?
Well, in transferring cryptocurrency across networks, it's speed which holds things up. I think that's a big industry issue they need to overcome. But yeah, like I say, I'm not sure who'll win the battle. I think there's space for multiple coins, multiple cryptocurrencies.
What is Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, it's a currency. From what I know, it's used to get hold of bitcoins. You could trade, or you can mine it using computers. Nowadays, a lot of emphasis is on using GPUs or graphics cards, and that requires a lot of power. So there's a trade-off between what you get from mining bitcoins, and then there's also how much you pay in terms of energy bills.
Have you ever been tempted to buy any Bitcoin? Do you own any Bitcoin?
For me, I'm completely not interested in bitcoins or anything like that.
Okay, and might I ask you why that is?
I have other interests, really.
Okay, so it's not that you have a negative view, it's just that you just haven't really you haven't got into it and you just take a neutral view on it.
Yeah, I take a neutral view of it. And also I study it because that's part of my degree, but that's about it, really.
What's your degree?
Computer science.
Great, okay, yeah, so you're kind of right in that industry then, really.
I think it's one of those, isn't it? You've got to have one eye on it.
Definitely.
I think a lot of companies and governments are investing in it, just in case it does take off. They're not left behind.
In Bitcoin or in blockchain?
Blockchain.
Yeah.
Blockchain. Are you talking about Bitcoin per se?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's obviously El Salvador, who is famously the first nation state to have actually made it legal tender, and they're putting it on. You know, the actual government there are buying it for their citizens. So, in terms of the future of adoption of Bitcoin specifically, it's slightly different, isn't it?
It is, and they've got a slightly different reason for doing it, is my take on it, and that's that there's more people have Bitcoin wallets than bank accounts, so...
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think people realise. Like, a lot of people I've met today have said, you know, like, why do I need Bitcoin? I don't need it. It doesn't really impact me. It can't benefit me. But what they're missing is that there's still billions of people in the world who are unbanked. They don't have a bank account. And in those countries, like, for example, right now in Lebanon, you can't get your money out if you want it, right? There's a cap. So, like, that's something that could potentially solve. Yeah, go ahead.
So I agree. So I mean, that's a good example as the reason why there is a value for Bitcoin and blockchains. I don't think it's going to solve everybody's problems. I think it's dependent on what the problem is and whether there's a value in that currency or that blockchain network. I think there's a place for it.
Yeah. Final question: the Lightning Network. You mentioned about speed. What do you think about the Lightning Network solving for kind of instant, almost free, settled finality in exchanging value cross borders at the speed of light?
I don't know about the Lightning Network. I know there's lots of cross-border payment companies doing instant stuff. There's various POCs going on and MPVs. I'm not aware of the Lightning Network.
Okay, yeah, great. So what would it take for you to start buying a little bit of Bitcoin each month, like £50 a month or something? Is there anything that would kind of make you think, oh, I really need this, you know, like this would be good for me and it would help me increase my purchasing power going forward?
At the moment, not really. I hear stories about comparing bitcoins to other currencies, but that's a completely different topic from what I'm interested in. Okay, what is Bitcoin?
It's a decentralized cryptocurrency.
So have you ever bought any, sold any?
Yeah, I have bought some, and I've sold. I did sell it all.
You've sold it all?
By mistake, before, because there was a huge crash, then it went back up.
Yeah. And
I sold it when it was back at the high, and then, of course, it did the huge loop and shot all the way back up.
Right, so let me interpret that. You bought it in 2017 at the big peak, then you sold it when it got back to that, like last year, was it? And then it continued on going. Okay, so you sold it, but you kind of wish you hadn't. Is that what you're saying?
Much.
Okay, and do you think it's too late? Like, what's the price of Bitcoin now, do you know?
It's about 41,000-ish.
Yeah, it's around the £41,000 a coin mark, isn't it? So does that seem like quite expensive to you? Are you put off buying it back now? Do you think it's going to go higher?
I think it's going to go higher. It's going to become a big thing anyway.
Okay, but you're not tempted to buy it back now?
I want to, but I want a whole one. But I don't have the money for that.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's out of reach for most people, isn't it? I mean, to get a whole coin.
You look mildly familiar.
You might have seen me already.
Did you live in Kuwait?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
No way. I know.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.